Okay, good to have everybody with us. It's Ed Dean, Roger Henderson. We've talked about SVB Bank, and many of you know my years as an economics reporter. I don't think we're in a banking crisis. I covered 2008, and boy, was that bad. Anyway, I don't think we're there, but it's still always very interesting to hear why certain things fail when it comes to the banking system, and while other banks are doing well, sometimes I think we have one size fits all, and I'm not a big fan of that. But here on our Newsmaker line is Tom Grady. Not Brady, but hey, Tom Grady.
I actually thought he said Brady at first, and I thought, I've got a celebrity on the phone.
We should say that, Tom. That's what I'm saying. But
yeah,
anyway.
If we could have his bank account, that would be nice.
Yeah. He's the former Florida State representative. He's down in the Naples area. That's your people, Raj. Anyway, former Florida commissioner with the Florida Office of Financial Regulation, and he's the chief investment officer at Pure Assets, which is a management company at pureassets.com. So, Tom, make it simplistic. You're here in Florida. We talk about regulating crypto and the bank failures, and I mean, we hear, Tom, economists in many ways, and those that covered like you and I, it's almost like getting a second opinion. Your doctor says this, and the next week they say not. Everybody's got an idea. Are we already in a recession, or are we going to be entering a recession? But on the bank failures in crypto, give us the latest. How do you see this whole system taking place right now?
Well, Ed, you raise a couple of points that are connected, but not necessarily always connected. Cryptocurrency is call me a skeptic. Cryptocurrency is a very speculative asset, and it's created a couple of bubble pockets in banks. There's been a couple of bank failures following the FTX failure. What a blow-up that was with SBF a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
One bank, Silvergate in particular, was very dependent on cryptocurrency and very dependent on FTX. And I think you can draw a direct line between FTX and Silvergate. Then you move to Signature in New York. They had a lot of crypto depositors. That's not money. It's not something that you would want to rely on as a stable source of deposits or as a stable source of business. And then you move over to SVB. Very different business model there, too. As you probably know, it was one of the most active banks in the startup community in California, which means they supported and invested a lot of cryptocurrency companies. But directly, that wasn't why they took a hit. Very different than in Florida 10, 11 years ago when I was the commissioner at the Office of Financial Regulation. I was closing banks every week, and we were doing that because of asset problems. The loans weren't being repaid. We were in a major recession. This is different. The asset side of this bank, SVB Bank, was good. They made good loans. Problem is, they failed the old-fashioned way. They forgot to mark their assets to market, meaning they had all these government bonds that people think are safe that had lost 30-40% in value because of the very rapid rise in interest rates. So they were a little sloppy, but cryptocurrency certainly weeds its way into these things, and we'll hear a lot more about it.
Now, Tom, hold on. You're also with the group with CryptoLawyers.org. I've never been a big fan of crypto, but you're pretty much calling it a scam. For those of you that hear about this, explain what you mean by that, that think, hey, crypto is a great alternative. Explain this to the audience.
Well, CryptoLawyers.org was formed by me and Attorney Guy Burns last year because I've been watching this cryptocurrency thing unfold, and it has been done with companies like Coinbase, which was recently given a Wells notice, which is an SEC notice this week that it has violated the law. For some reason, these cryptocurrency exchanges got the idea that they didn't have to comply with the same laws that applied to other securities broker-dealers. So they didn't bother to get registered as a broker. They didn't bother to get registered as an exchange. They didn't bother to register the securities that they're selling, which they're required to do. So we formed this company, CryptoLawyers.org, because we believe that people who have invested in these cryptocurrencies from these so-called crypto exchanges have rights to recover their losses because of the non-compliance with the law by folks like Coinbase.
Tom Grady, who is a former Florida state rep here, GOP member of the U.S. House, also former commissioner of the Florida Office of Financial Regulation. Tom, when you hear about what's happened in California, you hear about, a lot of them, of course, invested in Roku, some of the big tech firms out there, and you saw what happened with SVB Bank. When you hear about, Tom, tell us, you do this for a living, Tom. When you hear about 2008 and, about what we see now with a couple of these banks, is there any type of parallel, or is it night and day from what happened years ago?
Well, it's not night and day, but there's not a strong parallel yet. As I said, back in 08, 09, 10, 11, the big problem that banks had was the quality of their assets. their asset quality, including real estate, including Florida. Commercial real estate was a big problem 10, 11, 12 years ago. Commercial real estate is going to be a big problem for a lot of large city money center banks, I think, going forward. Florida's lucky. We've got huge demand for our residential real estate and our commercial real estate because we are picking off a lot of the very successful people and businesses from states like California and Michigan and New York. And they will support the commercial real estate market in Florida. But in California, for example, in San Francisco, those office towers, they're being abandoned in droves. Amazon can't even get their people to show up to work. What happens when Amazon leases expire, or as has happened when they buy out of their leases, and then these landlords are stuck with these big empty office towers? Well, they stop making their payments on their mortgages. The banks end up with those commercial real estate loans. So we're going to see some additional bank issues, and they will parallel some of the problems we saw in 08, 9, and 10 in the commercial real estate area. But so far, what we have seen is limited to badly managed banks and banks that have crypto-related connections that have resulted in either hot money and the deposits fleeing, or more direct participation like Silvergate, which was specifically formed or evolved to bank these cryptocurrency companies, which I believe a lot more of them are going to go out of business too. When the law actually comes around to applying to them and they figure out they're going to have to comply, they won't be able to, and they'll be gone.
Tom Grady, former Florida GOP state rep, former commissioner of the Florida Office of Financial Regulation at the company. He's the chief investment officer of Pure Assets, which is pureassets.com. I got about a minute or so here, Tom. Are we going to see more bank failures? What do you think this year?
Yeah, I think we will. What markets are telling us today, another European bank, Deutsche Bank, is teetering, and banks operate. As we all know, if we saw It's a Wonderful Life back in the 1930s, it's been shown over and over and over again. Banks require confidence. If people lose confidence, they rush to the bank and they want to get their money out of the bank. Why would they do that? Well, banks are safe when they're well run. Safety and soundness is what regulators look for in banks. But the reality is that banks never hold all of your deposits in the bank. Obviously, if I put $100 in a bank, they're going to lend $90 to you and get a mortgage on your home so you can buy a home or start a business. So it's this liquidity gap. And the Federal Reserve is supposed to be this lender of last reserve or resort. And it seems like they didn't want to do that for SVB, and I don't know why. But we'll see some more of it, I'm afraid.
Tom, let's cover this again. This is a hot issue. Let's do it again.
You bet.
All right. I appreciate you coming on. Tom Grady, former commissioner of the Florida Office of Financial Regulation. Man, it's a hot topic. Crypto is a scam. I think he could be right. All right. Ed Dean, Roger Henderson.